Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. I was reminded just before we started recording that today is both Easter Sunday and 420. So I don't have a joke prepared for that. It's kind of a joke within itself, I guess.
Huge day for people who love burning bushes.
Or what did you say? Aqua having their head in the clouds. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's quit all the tomfoolery, right? Before we start with any frivolities, I think that as a responsible podcast, it is important that we do pay a little bit of attention to what we celebrate today, the resurrection and reappearance of a very special man. This week, we celebrate the return of a man who could be seen as the savior of mankind, a man whose words and deeds echo in eternity, a man whose wisdom has often been misinterpreted by demagogues and false prophets throughout history, a man who has always walked among us in many different guises, always recognizable and familiar, yet somehow still strange. I'm, of course, talking about the grand return of Char Aznable. Welcome back, Char Aznable.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
There were a couple. I would just like to say, as a non-Gundam fan, I saw exactly where that was going.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I was setting myself up for a different punchline here, but
Thank you, Aqua. Yes, of course. By the time people are listening to this, it'll be days later, and no one will care. But yes, we are recording on Sunday as usual. So, anyway, yeah. So we have the rest of our new season first looks to cover. We were kind of in between seasons last episode, but now everything's out, and there's actually quite a bit to watch. We will see how many of these things remain good as time goes by, but certainly compared to last season where I was watching almost nothing.
Yeah, there is at least some excitement to be into anime again.
Yes, there are some shows that I genuinely like going on this season as well. So I'm pretty excited to get into it. But before we do, let's introduce everyone. I'm Jel. I'm not joined by Iroh today, which feels very weird.
He's not here. He's dead.
No.
no.
No, I will confirm, at least as of like an hour ago or something, Iroh is not dead yet. But so he'll be back next time. But we are, of course, joined by G.
It is strange to go second in line here. I must
weird.
admit. It's especially bad because I usually use this gap year to prepare my bit for the week. All I got this time on such short notice is I think it's actually very considerate of causality to put 420 and Easter on the same day, because I don't think in this economy you can afford to smoke weed and buy eggs at the same time anymore. So,
which one is more expensive? Actually, that's a good question.
What are you talking about? You don't buy Easter eggs; the buddy brings them.
You're right. My bad.
Not
Buddy
in
is
America.
the name of my dealer.
But not in America. Yes. Anyway, we are joined by Aqua.
I did all of my bits. Hi.
Yes, you got that one out. Thank you, Aqua. And we are joined by Artemis.
Hello, good to be here. I guess I think I've podcasted with everyone. Like Aqua and me are pretty rare to have one at the same time, though.
Yeah,
so.
this is the first time we were on at the
It's
same
the
time.
first, really? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Very auspicious.
Yeah. I have no way of really fact checking that. I was wondering, and I was like, I don't know, man. We've been doing this for 7 or 8 years or something. I don't know, but I can't remember. But yes, it is a rare lineup we have here, so it is good to have you both on.
Double A.
All right, let's get into all the new anime we didn't talk about last time. There were a few shows that were out that we talked about, but there are many more. Everything's pretty much out now, so we'll dive right into it.
And we'll start with an old anime.
Yes, you all can indulge me as I talk about Aharen-san wa Hakarenai, which still does not have a localized title, Season 2. If anybody doesn't remember, this is the show about the it's a girl who does not understand the concepts of personal space and things, and she gets close to her classmate who's this chill dude, and it's one of those it's broadly one of those like nice people being nice to each other comedies, but it's a little bit goofier, I think, where they basically just they pick some weird hobby for the week, and they get really, really, really into it, and then perhaps go too far, and then it's on to the next thing. It's a pretty fun show. That said, at the end of season 1, I did say that I probably didn't want a season 2.
I do recall this, yes.
And I thought maybe I was correct as we were getting in kind of back into the groove of things. It's like, oh, this is nice, but whatever. It's kind of the same old. And then they dropped me with a pretty powerful moment in episode 2 where the main dude gets into Animal Crossing. Nintendo's lawyers may be on the phone because they do not put much effort into hiding the fact that this is Animal Crossing. Like, he's hanging out with Tom Nook and everything.
It's pretty blatant.
But it gets much better because so they kind of do the montage of he's figuring out the game and how to, work the stock market and all that and build up your fortunes. And the culmination
of Raymond in boxes.
The culmination of him building his wealth results in him literally becoming Kiryu Kazuma from the Yakuza series.
The only way you could improve any video game is you just ask the question, what if Kiryu Kazuma, the Dragon of Dojima...
Look, I feel like the Yakuza's game series may be the most referenced series in this podcast somehow. And we may have said
because it is the essence of anime, right?
Yes,
essence
absolutely.
Of anime.
And I may have made similar statements, but this time I literally mean he becomes Kiryu Kazuma. He's got the suit and everything, the hair, everything, and his world is shattered when Tom Nook takes a bullet for him. It's very good.
Really, the only good millionaire.
And that was a very fun segment. Other than that, it's pretty much back to business as usual. They meet a Gyaru. That's the second most exciting thing that happens.
Aharen-san's trying to keep up with the times, right? Look at the trends in anime.
Yeah, she's trying. She turns out to be Aharen's, of course, friend from elementary school or whatever, and they reconnect. So that's the new twist for this season, and that's kind of it. But it's still fun. What were you going to say, Aqua?
I was just going to say, I guess Animal Crossing is the only video game that Kazuma Kiryu is allowed to be in a crossover with, because I think, I read today that, because I've been playing Yakuza 7, I read today that the guy from the Yakuza series, the producer, refuses to have him appear in other games as a guest character because that would require him to beat women, and Kazuma Kiryu doesn't do that.
Wasn't that the Tekken guy that said that?
No, this was actually it was Nagoshi. Nagoshi said this,
but it was part of the Tekken conversation, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. The running bit is that the reason why Kiryu has never appeared in a fighting game crossover is because Kiryu's an old-fashioned guy, for better or worse, right? Yeah. Obviously, I think we should all strive to not hit anybody, really, but Kiryu's. He's old-fashioned, right? He has his old-school patriarchal ways, and one of those is you don't lay a hand on women.
So when you fight him in Yakuza 7, just put Eri and Psycho in your party, and you will lose.
Did you notice that? Yes. He's actually coded to not attack female
characters. They actually put that into the... Oh, that's cool.
Yes, in Yakuza 7. It's a very good bit.
Yeah. So... Yep, Aharen-san's still fun, and that episode gave me the most slam dunk header image I've ever had. That will be the header image of this podcast. I don't care.
It's hard to beat that.
So
is Isabelle in the episode?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So friendship ended with Doom Guy. Kazuma Kiryu was my new best friend.
Yeah. She's only in it for a second. In the intro, it's mostly Tom Nook, but she's there. Everybody's there. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. To a series I forgot existed, but was very hot 15 years ago.
Coming to you straight from 2006 DeviantArt.
So we're going to talk about Black Butler, the Emerald Witch arc, which Artemis you were watching, and I just as a footnote, there was a Black Butler season last year, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was It was recent. It was definitely last year for sure.
Yeah, it was either last year or maybe the year, but there was one recent, but there was a big gap between before that. But
damn,
I don't keep track of everything Black Butler. Like I'm not like I've never read the manga, by the way. Like I'm not, I just don't.
I think most of us or let's say people of a certain age, because I'm older than all of you, but have more cultural. I do remember more cultural memory of Black Butler from like 2009 or something.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
but,
yeah. My younger self was all over it, but
nice, yes.
I mean, the seasons just vary so wildly because the setting changes with every season.
Okay.
Like and the general story arc, and so last year it was set in school and it was terrible. Like I thought it was a shitty season. It was set at an all boys school.
I don't remember if we even talked about it at any point.
I don't know if I ever mentioned it. I may have mentioned it very briefly, but it was not good. Not really. It was very camp, I suppose. So if you enjoy, and I am going to assume intentionally, but if that's not your thing, then you would not have liked it, and I didn't especially love it. This season, we are heading into more werewolf territory. In Germany somewhere.
Okay.
So it's a lot more exciting. It's very leaning very heavily into its kind of gothic folklore.
Okay.
It gets pretty dark, which I think serves Black Butler well when it leans into its more horror-ish kind of elements.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it so far. It's still quite fan servicey in the way that Black Butler is. Like in terms of its like, can you get fan servicey with angst? You can, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Like indulgent, right? Like
yeah. It's leaning more in that direction again, and I think that if you're an old school Black Butler fan in terms of the anime, you'll appreciate it because that's kind of where it started off for me as an anime only fan, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's the audience, right?
Yeah, is it like an anthology kind of thing, or are there recurring characters from previous seasons?
Oh, it's always the same main cast.
Okay,
like the
it's
main
always
characters,
and then Black Butler,
they bring in whatever side cast to flesh it out for that particular story arc.
But it is something you can pick up even if you skipped the last.
You do not have to have watched the previous. So far, I have not seen any reference whatsoever to the most recent arc before this. So you can. I don't know if I would say it's a good jumping off point if you've never seen any Black Butler before, but you probably could. It doesn't get like you would be like, why is that weird flashback there occasionally? But other than that, like there's nothing overly complicated that you would be like, what is happening? I don't understand anything that's going on. You could watch it as a storyline that you get the gist of, regardless.
It's not a particularly lore heavy series.
Not really. Yeah. Not really. The most like lore that you will pick up if you have seen it is the opening and ending credit scenes, honestly. But the anime itself, you could probably pick up easily enough without having seen any before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just ask you because it's kind of like you don't really get these kinds of shows anymore. I get the feeling like it's a very much a relic of a bygone era. This like flamboyant gothic.
Yeah. I mean, in a way that's true. And it does, it is still, even if you had never heard of Black Butler before and you started watching, I feel like you might think it's very reminiscent of that more early 2000s era.
I feel like, Artemis, you and I have first looked many shows that are attempting to capture this type of energy and just don't, or nothing has, stuck culturally the way Black Butler did when it was a big thing.
I get the feeling when you have something like this, it's usually like an Otomege adaptation or something like that. Whereas I get the feeling Black Butler is still something different than that, even though it sort of has that audience in mind.
I think by and large it's kept up pretty well. It certainly looks quite good too. Cloverworks is doing a good job as always with the animation, and the the opening and ending give that very nice kind of quote unquote gothic like air to it. So if you're willing to just kind of sit back and enjoy it for what it is without getting too nitpicky about like I don't know, if you are a German scholar, perhaps you would find plenty to nitpick about this particular story arc. But I
think all German scholars watching anime already died years ago. Like,
but it's fun. Just it's an enjoyable, fun kind of show that you don't really need to think too hard about.
I think the last German scholar watching anime died when Frieren introduced an evil woman whose name was the German word for evil.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's certainly a name that takes me back when I hear that. The days of, what's his name, Sebastian being the hot, pretty anime guy for a certain demographic of people, but yes.
I'll say this for any Black Butler like earlier fans who may be listening and haven't yet tried this for fear it could be shit. Out of all the kind of the newer Black Butler story arcs, this is the closest you will get in terms of general atmosphere, gothic horror-esque folklore stuff to Book of Circus that you will get. And Book of Circus is the best, so hopefully
that's encouraging then.
It seems like a bit of a return to form, right?
Especially after the previous outing.
Okay.
This does seem very clear. Like, it does seem like a thing where you would like course correct and realizes like, oh, okay, so like our show is mostly associated with like soap opera camp melodrama stuff, but of course people initially did get into it because of the gothic horror stuff, so let's go back to that.
And I think I'm pretty sure it's all canon. Like even the previous story arc I believe was canon to the manga, so they're not just going, I think they're just following the manga, the main beats of the manga, and that was just for me not a great beat, but maybe fans in Japan really loved it. I don't know.
Who knows.
Well, there have been adaptations that elected to skip certain arcs of the manga, but it usually doesn't end.
Yeah, the previous story arc was very Harry Potter coded. Like, well, not. I wouldn't even say Harry. I mean, Harry Potter coded as just like British houses, but Americans are like, what? You'd have school houses with cool names, and they all want a trophy for.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like everyone assumes this is like, oh, that's a Harry Potter reference. Like, no, that's just what British schools are like.
And for the record, New Zealand schools too also have houses. I grew up in that system as well.
Are we coming back around to the read another book? But yes. All right.
we can't litigate that here.
Yes, let's stop before we get into Harry Potter. But yes, that sounds encouraging. That maybe this is a good arc or back to form, right? So, okay. Well, let's go to, I guess, another popular manga adaptation here. I don't know.
Speaking of children going to specialized schools.
I gotta say, whoever came up with the name for this spin-off was a genius, because it's now impossible to Google like torrents for it.
So
I'm not sure about that, but yeah.
My Hero Academia illegals is what we're talking about.
Yes. There's the weird thing of like that's technically like the actual title, but I think everybody tends to refer to it as Vigilantes.
Right.
Right. But is that the official localization or?
The official localization is Vigilante: My Hero Academia illegals.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I just copied what you had from the first look post, so...
Yes.
I mean, there is some way in which illegal and vigilante are synonyms, kind of.
Well, I mean,
it's
that's
it's
kind
the
of
context, right, and also the context of My Hero Academia, right, where you have to be a
right.
licensed hero or whatever, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, just as a quick recap, right, My Hero Academia, or Vigilantes, is the spin-off of My Hero Academia that focuses on heroes who are not formally part of the governmental superhero system that every Japanese work about superheroes loves.
The Rorschachs to their Watchmen.
But yeah, it's yeah. So like, I have read the manga, but speaking just to the anime, yes, it is about a group of sort of underdog. I guess civilians, right? Like people who have decided to take justice into their own hands for myriad reasons. The sort of classic, like, we're there to stop like the crimes that fell through the cracks, right? The whole like the crimes that the hero system failed, or All Might wasn't there to stop, or couldn't be because All Might's only one dude, etc. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the thing of like, it is. Like, A, it is very obviously a spinoff of My Hero Academia, but B, it is also much lower key in its stakes. Like, they are obviously still trying to stop bad dudes, but it is very street level, right? It's
that's the term.
It's the first Raimi Spider-Man film, right? It's watch the hero stop petty criminals and such.
Right.
And there is a charm to that because, like, I think we as we have often like kind of talked about, like, shonen has a tendency to like violently spiral out of control as the stakes get raised, right? As the world-threatening like stakes occur in a shonen story, you kind of lose the like maybe what was the initial appeal, right? It was. Bleach was a lot more fun when it was just Ichigo beating up ghosts in the streets.
Absolutely. Yeah, when it was just about him and his weird family mourning their mom while he occasionally beats up monsters in the streets.
Yeah, exactly, right? And Vigilantes almost like is like, what if a story was basically that for like at least 60 to 70% of its effective runtime? But I will say it's like that's kind of what it is, right? Like it is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a lower stakes, slightly more slice of life oriented take on My Hero Academia, and whether that is like what the doctor ordered, I think is going to kind of depend on like what you got out of the original My Hero Academia. And,
well, it sounds more appealing to me. Like this is like, am I correct in assuming this is more like your Daredevil or your Punisher as opposed to your like Fantastic Four, like super like the more focused on the human aspect of superhuman,
definitely.
rather than on the
like
super
even,
aspect, right? Yeah.
Like one of these sort of like the kind of notable. I mean, he's not even the protagonist, but like the thing everybody notices about Vigilantes, right? And this is the part where like, and to be clear, like Vigilantes was handled by a different author artist team than Horikoshi. But the thing I found was actually a fairly clever reflection is, so My Hero Academia has All Might, who is your very obvious like Superman analog.
Mm-hmm.
And the older mentor hero or vigilante in Vigilantes is Knuckle Duster, who is very clearly like a sort of Punisher, Daredevil, Batman analog.
Yeah.
He is a non-powered person. He does not have powers. He just has grit and training and a willingness to brutalize petty criminals on the street with his fists.
I mean, that's interesting because like a lot of early My Hero Academia is about how like 90% of all humans have some sort of superpower, and it's virtually impossible for someone without one to become a hero.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yes, like this is sort of like... So yeah, it is kind of fun in that way, right? Of like, if the original My Hero Academia is sort of paying tribute to American superhero media, like, or a certain type of American superhero media, Vigilantes kind of feels like it is like a lens on, maybe the more like 90s Image comics.
Right. Yeah.
in some ways, to be clear, that is one character, right? I mean, it is still about a hapless, I guess, a college student is who wants to do good despite not being an accredited hero. So,
is this kind of more gritty in terms of the actual content? Is it like bloodier, or is it still fairly relatively clean because it's still trying to appeal to that kind of shonen jump, not younger necessarily, but
I would definitely say at the end of the day, it is still like something you could find in Shonen Jump. Like I think there are. It's that thing of like there are things about Vigilantes that are way more interesting than Vigilantes than the actual text of Vigilantes, which is like it kind of gets into the like origins of the concepts of vigilante justice and like the sort of like double-edged sword that represents in a civil society. And it's like, but it like kind of just touches on it, right? It like briefly mentions like that like a vigilante hero stopping justice where the authorities can't is like kind of functionally the same coin as like mob, or it is just the opposite side of the coin of mob justice. And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, that was the only chapter you were going to talk about that, huh? Oh, well.
You're not going to get a deep dive into these questions, right?
No, not really.
When you think about it, Batman creates his own villains.
Well,
anyways, yeah, I think the thing I would say about vigilantes / illegals, however you choose to localize this.
I'll find the official title for the notes. Yeah,
it's a different flavor of My Hero Academia, and one that like maybe is slightly more palatable in a post My Hero Academia world. I think at least in the American-speaking fan base, broadly, feelings towards My Hero Academia have been kind of negative about its ending. I know my broad understanding is that the reception to it was much higher in Japan, that the Japanese fan base was much more positive toward it, but I know the English-speaking fan base
I get the
of My Hero Academia largely did not like the ending and
threw up their hands and said, "Y'all."
Yeah. And I think through not necessarily through neither fault nor merit of its own, Vigilantes like kind of lower stakes and lower ambitions, but also broadly more consistent execution have kind of like raised its esteem in people's eyes.
I get the feeling people kind of turned on My Hero Academia because they originally saw it as like a refreshing alternative to like generic shonen because of its being inspired by this very ideal of the American superhero, which is something that is also harder and harder to find even in Western superhero media.
Yeah.
But then sort of lost everyone by falling into the same pitfalls as both traditional shonen battle manga and American Cape Comics, right?
I think that's a good way to put it. And I'm not going to like try to... There are some weird people out there that are like, Vigilantes is like what My Hero Academia should have been. And I'm not sure I would necessarily go that far, but I would certainly say that like, I think Vigilantes makes a called shot at being a 3-star show or manga and then largely nails exactly that.
Right.
And so the expectations are established and then the execution is solid. Right. And as for the anime itself, right, because I realize I'm just kind of talking about the manga at this point, Bones does solid work here. Like it is Bones. I've yet to see anything to really blow my socks off. Utapon has not been the Utapon glass has not been broken yet, but
gotta save it for well like episode 3 or 4 or something.
The thing that I noticed that actually once I saw Vigilantes do it, I was like, I cannot believe the My Hero Academia anime never did this. It uses fully English superhero comic style onomatopoeia for its action sequences.
Like so Batman 66 style, just like bam and whiff and pose.
Yeah, like a dude gets punched and you see a big thwump. Exclamation come out of them. It's actually quite charming. It's maybe my favorite thing visually about Vigilantes.
Nice.
That's funny because that makes it more lighthearted as opposed to the original. I guess.
Yeah, I guess it does, but I mean, it's...
Oh, yeah, I mean, visually speaking, right? But
yeah.
Oh.
Well, in any case, the rare spin-off that might be better than the original.
It sounds like, G, from what you're saying, I don't know if better is the correct term, but maybe more consistent.
I like it more. I'll put it that way.
The
I don't know if it's
like
better, but...
The way you describe this just makes me think of Railgun, in that it is kind of the same bullshit as the original, but it laser focuses on the more appealing elements of the original, even though the quality of the actual writing may not, in fact, be better.
I have not seen Railgun, but I do. But your description does sound analogous to Vigilantes.
Yeah.
We cannot get into that discussion.
Okay.
We need to.
We got a lot of shows here,
but yes. I'm assuming, G, you're going to keep watching that, right? So we'll
at least for now. It may end up becoming the show that I just tune in for the episodes that I know will focus on cool stuff. But
fair enough, right? Because you know broadly what's going on, right? So okay, well, I guess let's keep it in Shonen Jump and go over to Witch Watch. Artemis, you said you were still watching this, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know Zig and Ira also watched it. You can go check out their first look on the blog, but I think you're still watching it, though.
Yeah. Am I the only one still watching it?
I think presently on the podcast.
Okay.
Yes.
It sounds like maybe a lot of... Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say quickly, it sounds like maybe a lot of people feel like they were sold a false bill of goods based on, like...
I have seen nothing about this show. I know they've been pushing it heavily. It got the Yoasobi OP. It has the sheen of prestige, and just no one's talking about it. I don't even know what it's about.
I've seen a little bit, but yeah. We'll let Artemis, since she's the one watching it, go on it first.
So this show kind of is, because it's Netflix and Crunchyroll, and maybe even Hulu as well.
Wow.
I don't quote me on that. I can't remember because
everybody's streaming it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very, it's very accessible.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I was very mid on the first episode. It was fine. I didn't hate it. It was just like, It didn't, because primarily this is a comedy. It's a romantic comedy, but I would say mostly it's a comedy, just straight up comedy.
Right.
But I wasn't laughing. And that's a problem.
It's like Shonen Jump. We always associate with action shows, but there is a Shonen Jump comedy type as well, right?
Yeah, and I guess this is it.
Yeah.
I don't really watch that many Shonen Jump shows, comparatively speaking. I check some out, but I'm not a big Shonen Jump fan. Or Shonen
or
fan.
It just might just be, from what I read, like Magical Girlfriend. Is that fair? Like in that neighborhood?
Yeah, kind of. So very, very briefly, the main character is just a teenage guy, but just also an ogre. He has ogre blood. He's like half ogre, I guess, or whatever percent ogre he is. So he has like superhuman strength, basically. But he is just going about his business. He doesn't really care. He just wants to have his life and do, normal teenagey things and enjoy his coffee in the morning and so forth. And he had a childhood friend who moved away called Nico, and she is a witch. And there is now a prophecy that some disaster will befall her, and her mother has sent her to live with him for her protection.
Oh, okay.
Basically. Because they were close, they were very close childhood friends, and used to hang out all the time before she moved away. So it's these two kids living under one roof, and it's very played up. Like she's all like, yeah, we're living under one roof, and he could not care less.
Nice. Yep.
I mean, that's at least refreshing, because usually the guy is like, girl.
She wants him to do that, and she's always envisioning in her head, like, oh, if I stand here in the doorway after I just get up in my pajamas, it will for sure like make him pay attention. And he's just like,
does not care.
Yeah.
Look, Rumiko Takahashi is an extremely influential mangaka.
Right.
I thought you were going to say Shinzo Abe was an incredibly influential.
Oh no,
no, let's not.
So,
My goodness.
so Artemis, you said the first episode you didn't like, but did something?
And
did
then
it
the
get
second
better?
episode just worked a lot better for me. I did laugh several times in the second episode, and was greatly encouraged by what I saw. This is the kind of show that tosses a lot of references out, often at quite a fast pace. But if you don't get those references, you'll just be
right.
like,
That's
okay, and this is funny because kind of thing. A lot of the references are kind of other Shonen Jump references.
Of course.
So there are some fairly obvious ones. Episode 2 has the most obvious ones. There's a Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball a couple times, Hunter x Hunter, possibly a reference to Makoto Shinkai anime even. I'm not totally sure. Does like a guy is like, oh, I want to be turned into a chair. I'm gonna.
I was just about to say, horny teenagers does not a Makoto Shinkai reference.
No, it was just some.
I mean, this is a lot of references for like one episode. I gotta say,
but the pacing on those particular ones and just the execution of them for me did work far better than anything else that had come previously. And it was also an episode that was set in school, because some of the episodes are set outside of school, just at their house or whatever, and some I guess are going to be more, like, and then they go to school and this is their day at school kind of thing.
Is this referential style? Is it like is that what the show is, or is it just a thing that happened in context of one episode?
I think it's going to be a big part of what the show is. I don't think it's going to be all, but I think it's going to be like 50%ish maybe.
I mean, shout out to my my favorite 2012 cult classic favorite, Bimbo Gamiga, which also did a lot of those types of references, like the the Fist of the North Star and all that stuff.
Yeah, right? The way they shoehorned in a lot of the references in episode 2 is because their teacher, their main class teacher, is an otaku, and so she's like having a lot of monologue going on at a fairly fast pace.
Yeah.
But this is also the kind of show where I guess people understand that witches and ogres and such exist.
Okay.
It's not super common. Like I don't think there's like a school for witches, or I don't think there's like, oh yeah, this is the 5th witch in our school, actually. But everyone just accepts that she is a witch.
Right. It's like a thing of like you would have like a foreigner in your school or something like that.
Right, yeah. It kind of, it's sort of like that.
Yeah,
and she's not a very good witch necessarily. So a lot of the other comedy comes.
Worst witch.
She's not the worst, but a lot of comedy just comes from her. Not that she's a bad witch and that she doesn't have power, because she does. It's just that she doesn't necessarily think through what is going to happen next. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of like a very excited child, but a teenager, but an excited child, like mentally running around with witchy powers and doing things because it could be fun, and not really thinking what the consequences might be of this.
Yeah. All right. Well, as someone who loves dumb anime comedies, maybe that is something I should.
So
watch.
I would say check out episode. Like if you were curious enough about episode 1 to check out a second, I would recommend it just to see if it works better for you.
Yeah.
And episode 3 just came out. I did have time to watch it this morning. It is better than 1, but not as good as 2. So somewhere in between. So I think it might just kind of depend on the episode, to be honest.
I mean, it's early. These shows always kind of have to find their footing in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that, like I said, that as somebody who likes dumb anime comedies, maybe that might be something worth checking out if I drop something. I have quite a few other things I'm watching at this point, but we'll see. All right. Well, I guess speaking of dumb anime comedies, let's talk about the Dinner Table Detective. This is the show that was about the rich young lady who's the heiress to the Zaibatsu, but she insists on having a second life where she has a job as a detective. And, I think it's well documented on this podcast. I do not like anime mystery shows or detective shows. I enjoyed the first episode of this because this takes sort of a much more silly sort of approach to it. A lot of Kana Hanazawa and Mamoru Miyano hamming it up.
Oh yeah, we got the two biggest hams in anime to just ham at each other.
And while my opinion of the show perhaps declined a bit over the course of the first three episodes, it was still kind of fun.
I quite liked the first 3 episodes. I think,
it was. I still enjoyed it, but
I think there's some stuff to like here. Like, I think the first thing that I noticed is this show does simply not bother to adhere to its format, as in they don't try to adapt the stories to episodes, as in the first story takes exactly as long as it needs to, which is like the entire first episode and then like 4 minutes of the second one. And then they just move on to the next story. So that does give me the impression that they are trying to like respect the pacing of the original stories. And it is actually quite snappy. I do like it. It is not an overload of information, an overload of talking that is being blasted onto you. Things are relatively easy to follow, and the mysteries are, well, they're not like Sherlock Holmes levels of like, oh, you could have figured this out if you were paying attention. But it's also not the standard anime thing of like, oh, now the super smart detective is going to walk in and reveal a bunch of stuff that you couldn't possibly have known. And from that, declare who the killer is. Like,
there's a little bit of that. But like, there were some threads that you could have caught.
Yeah,
for sure. There were some logical gaps.
Yeah, there is a trope of the super smart detective, but all of the stuff that is used is stuff that is foreshadowed, that is mentioned, even if it is in a throwaway line. And you could sometimes be like, oh, like, how could he possibly have realized that this throwaway detail was relevant? But I think overall, it's pretty decent. It is like, I care. I want to know who did it and why they did it and how they figure out how they do it. And for an anime mystery, that is already quite striking. I think.
I think part of it is there's actually, like, I would broadly say this is mostly kind of a goofy comedy, but there's a lot going on to varying degrees of success. They do kind of play with the main character's sort of, she does not appear to want to inherit her, her position. Like, she's much more interested in, pursuing her current line of work, which for whatever reason that I don't think they've gotten into yet. But, we've kind of got that thread in there. And they've tried to inject, I think, a little bit of actual humanity into the mysteries. Like,
I think I like the first minutes of the first episode most, where she's just talking with her friends, and you get a sort of relatively organic way of introducing all of these players in the game, as well as the backstory that will end up playing a role in the resolution of the mystery. I think that the writing is generally on a higher level than it is with most of these shows.
And they even even in the first big mystery that goes through most of episode 2 into 3, they even try to inject a moral of the story at the end on that one, right? A little, they try to throw in a little emotional gut punch at the end, and I think I have a higher tolerance for comedy / tragedy whiplash than most of us on the GLORIO chat.
I just kept thinking of Ace Attorney, because the writing, like, the mysteries are not as clever as an Ace Attorney, but it does have that same vibe of, like, it's relatively lighthearted, even though it is about murder.
Right, yeah.
And the murders are sometimes, like, really, like, convoluted in I bet you didn't see this coming kind of way. Especially, like, the second one.
Ace Attorney is not a perfect example, but it's kind of the closest one that you can think of, because there is the like, this is goofy and silly, but also somebody died, right?
Right. I mean, just the whole second story of like spoilers, but like, oh, the murderer, the victim was killed by this heavy object being swung from the room above through the window. Oh no, wait, that was actually someone faking the object being flung through the window in order to cover for another dude who didn't actually do it, but was like, the accusation was faked by the actual killer. That just made me think of Ace Attorney a lot.
So,
and
I think so. It was fun. I think I probably could have stood to have like 20 to 30% more silliness or campiness, or more hamming it up on screen time, because while there is some of that, once they get into like actually solving the mystery, it becomes pretty straightforward into solving the mystery.
I think this Butler character is kind of the main issue. just remove him from the show. He's boring. He's boring.
Doesn't really add a whole lot.
He just explains the mystery and then calls the main character an idiot for not knowing. Like,
so like,
and this was my main concern with the show, that it would be like, oh, this woman thinks she's hot shit, but actually it's this man solving all of the crimes and she takes credit for it. And it's not that, and they sort of mitigate that by having the third detective guy who does think he's hot shit, and then she gets to be the like straight man to his idiot.
Right.
But it still kind of just feels like, oh, we're detectives, and when we have run out of things to do, we just go ask the guy who knows everything to solve the crime for us. Like,
we talked about last time the like Inspector Gadget problem, right? But it's, and I agree, it's not quite that, but it kind of, they add an extra layer of it to kind of soften it a little bit, I think, because she's not like totally incompetent. She's just
she's not stupid. She's not arrogant. She's just
not like a super genius like the Butler guy, right?
The thing is, like, she should be like Sherlock Holmes in Ace Attorney Investigations. You know, the guy who like is like 90% there, but then draws the wrong conclusion. Like, I think that's a better way to do this trope without making the character seem like a buffoon and just making you ask the question, well, why doesn't the Butler just be a cop and solve the crimes?
And that's kind of what it is, because like she gets mostly there, and the Butler basically gives them the big chunk of information to guide them in the right direction. But it's still her, and to a certain extent her boss, or whoever. I guess it's her boss, right? The Mama Mariano character.
Or whatever this guy is. He thinks he's the boss.
Or at least he thinks... At least he acts like he's the boss.
He's like the Sherlock Holmes, right? He's like the PI that the cops call on to solve the mysteries that they can't.
Right. And, so it's an interesting dynamic. I think we'll see what they... Because clearly there's something up with the Butler guy, because he just appeared out of nowhere. And we don't know anything about him or why he's here, and I think I'm willing to bet he has some other kind of agenda or something, or there's
like a 70% chance he was trained in a Soviet facility to be a super detective.
Right. So there's I think that they're setting up a plot thread for him, and also they probably just wanted an excuse to have some hot Butler guy in the show. But it's a pretty fun show. We'll see. It's toward the lower end of the things I'm watching, I think, this season, but I think it's worth checking out.
I was just positively surprised. It managed to keep my attention, which is something that most shows that we check out at the start of a season fail to do. I think adaptation-wise, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Like, lots of the backgrounds are just straight up Photoshops, like pictures, photographs with filters on them. Yeah, but I do like the character designs. Like, for example, in the second mystery, the like daughter of the house, like they mentioned, she used to do shot put, and you like actually see that she has a sort of like a bulkier kind of physique.
Yeah,
there's no result of that. Like,
there's no same face going on, which is always nice to see with character designs, right? Everybody has like distinct facial features and body types and stuff, right? Which is always cool. So
also, like the four friends in the first episode, for example, where you could
they all look very different.
Tell which one is which. So I think it's overall it's a good time. It seems like
pretty solid.
It's one of those anime you could show to your grandma.
Yeah, if she's not, offended by watching an old woman getting clubbed in the back of the head.
Hey man, old people love murder mysteries. Like,
fair enough. Yeah. All right. It's a pretty solid. It seems to be a pretty solid show. So. Okay.
Speaking of pretty good shows,
well, let's talk about probably an even bigger surprise on our list here, Apocalypse Hotel.
I'm gonna say this was not a surprise for me. Like, I mean,
okay,
I had this pegged as the like anime original Dark Horse.
Okay, I remember us talking about it. I think
it's very easy to say that in hindsight.
I know. Well, I had this pegged. I meant I was interested in this because it is an anime original that we don't know much about.
Yeah, like, and Aqua, you are the one that put it on our preview show. I was not going to even touch it, but just as a recap, this is the Cygames anime original, which is not tied to any of their games either. It is about it is about a hotel in the post-apocalypse, or so it seems, where humans are long gone from the earth, and there's a staff of robots running a hotel, and because they're robots every day for the past 100+ years or however long, they go about their daily routine preparing for guests even though no one ever shows up. And
what if Nier Automata was Faulty Towers?
I think that's one way to put it. For me, the first episode I thought was really good. I think this second episode was good too. It's just I think that's probably moving to more where the show is going, but the first episode I think is so well executed with the tone that they're trying to go for, where it's kind of funny that, hey, look at all these, fun little guys, doing their job at the hotel, but they managed to do a very good job of conveying the gravity of the situation without having to like sit there and explain to you what happened to humanity and all that. Like, I think to me the highlight in episode 1 is when the driller bot dies and you see her like in the robot graveyard in the basement at some point, and you're like, ooh, like
it is a masterful combination of humor and tragedy, because like, that first episode is also very funny, and it is funny throughout. It is not like that it starts funny and then becomes sad. No, you just have jokes like sprinkled all over, even though the general undercurrent is very melancholy, very touching. Even like that's a touching tale of loyalty and being dedicated to doing the best you can do, even though it is completely pointless.
Right. And that's a hard balance to get, and I think they do a very good job doing that. I think the other kind of highlight to me is the fact that I'm trying to remember the main robot girl's name.
Dachio.
When she eventually has, even though she's supposed to be a robot programmed to do her job, she eventually does have like a breakdown in episode 1, right? Like, I thought that was a nice touch as well. And just very good job at getting the tone right. And that kind of leads into episode 2, where I think this is where we're probably going to be going more for the rest of the series, I'm guessing, but they get their first guest finally.
I get the feeling this may be more of a Death Parade situation, where we might fluctuate from silly comedy to insightful drama, depending on the episode and the point of the story where we're at. Like, at least that's what I would like to see.
And I'm just thinking in terms of like the format of what weird alien or whoever is going to show up this week, and what's their deal is going to be, because we introduce the concept of an alien visitor because the humans are long gone, right?
It really is just Faulty Towers. Every episode an annoying guy shows up.
And I will say episode 2, it was very funny.
Yes.
The comedy was very solid in episode 2, as they were dealing with this kind of, I guess he is annoying. Like it's interesting with the alien person. They're like, they don't do the thing where, oh, I'm a robot and I can just automatically auto translate whatever you're saying. Like they never at any point understand what the alien is saying, right?
Or even at the end, they don't even know if he's satisfied or not. Like,
right? Is he giving us a thumbs up or is he flipping us off? I don't know.
I do like how for just a one-off joke episode, they put a lot of thought into this like alien species and how it communicates, even though it is incomprehensible to the viewer and to the main character. There's like a clear language that this alien has, like its tendency to adjust Yachiyo's movements, to like interact with objects by swallowing them. It's very like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Arrival. Like the Denis Villeneuve movie about the linguist who gets hired to like translate alien speech. And it's very similar. I mean, of course, that movie is way heavier, but it's very similar in that regard of like actually dealing with how can we communicate with people who are completely unfamiliar with our methods of communication, right? Because when you have two characters speaking different languages, we're still humans, and humans are just inherently coded to understand gestures or pointing at things or certain noises or intonations. Whereas with this alien, it is just completely impossible to convey any sort of message to him.
Right. That made it kind of an interesting spin on it, but yeah, I just think it's very easy to throw out a concept like this and just we're gonna make sort of a slice of life, and it just happens to be post-apocalyptic or whatever. But the execution has been just really solid on it. G, you were watching this too, right? Did you?
Yes. If you wouldn't know it from the last 15 minutes, but I am also watching Apocalypse Hotel.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have been quite fascinated with this show. It's probably the we've sort of been joking about this. It is probably the heavy hitter of this season, funnily enough. It's definitely has a lot going for it, as you guys have kind of already exhaustively broken down. It has done a very good job of sort of striking this balance between the melancholy and the comedic. I think the reason why, I do not think this show is necessarily a, guaranteed slam dunk is, A, it's an anime original, and we've all, burnt once, twice shy, right? I don't think any of us here is looking to relive a Appare Ranman or the Pirate Princess here. But also,
fool me once, fool me twice, fool me thrice, fool me 4 times, fool me 5 times, fool me.
The thing with Apocalypse Hotel that I think, it's hard to tell because, here's the thing. I think in terms of its actual premise, I don't think Apocalypse Hotel is actually that revolutionary.
Right.
We have been doing the sad robots thing for many years at this point. To I think varying degrees of success. It's to the point where I would say these days a sad robot alone will not move my heart.
Right.
The sad robot has to be sad about something meaningful.
But what if the sad robot
and
was sexy?
I mean, that certainly helps, to be clear. I mean,
the thing is, you're right. Sad robot fans have been eating pretty well in these last.
We have.
We've had Nier, we've had Vivi. We've had some other show that I forgot.
But I think the thing that kind of works for me with Apocalypse Hotel is sort of, this is sort of the thing that I think a lot of these works have sort of been getting into the sort of more or maybe it's not that this is new, but it has become a lot more relatable in recent times, is the existential angle of why do something if it objectively doesn't matter?
Right.
This is a thought I've had about much of what I do for the last few years,
Yep.
Is the process still worth, it's a tree. If a tree falls in the forest, basically, right? Do the aspirations towards a high level of service matter in a world in which there is nobody to experience it, right? And like is the craft itself fundamentally worth doing, right? It's I think that is the angle that Apocalypse Hotel kind of approaches. It's like, what do robots do in a post-human world angle that I think makes it work. I think for me, where like maybe not necessarily like trepidation comes in, but more like, I guess for now we will call it curiosity that could quickly turn into trepidation, is I rather like the second episode's premise of like, oh, we have to like engage with a being who has a completely different like set of like norms and languages. I don't see a lot of aliens in the OP and ED. I see a lot of Tanuki. And I think that's like, you look, if you're telling me that Tanuki shall inherit the Earth, like, sure, let's go for it, right? Like, why not? Everyone's like, oh, who will inherit the Earth after humans? Will it be the apes, the dolphins? And if this show's like, no, it'll be the raccoons. I'm fine with that. I think it's just more like, if you're introducing this again, like, this is that weird thing of like OPs and EDs always kind of inherently have to spoil a little bit of a show. But like, if the actual like thrust of Apocalypse Hotel is we're going to introduce this like charming, rambunctious family of Tanuki as our like primary guests at this hotel, I think that could introduce something very interesting, obviously, but that's definitely different from like non-verbal aliens or even an empty hotel.
Yeah.
And I think this show is gonna live or die by like how much we can tolerate these Tanuki characters.
Well, yeah, we'll see how much. Like, I feel like introducing the concept of aliens and never coming back to that would seem weird, but also, maybe that just becomes every couple episodes some weird thing walks in or something, right? Whereas the core might be the Tanukis or whatever, who knows. I think there's definitely a lot still to prove here. It's just what they have started off is a promising start, but there's a lot of directions this could go that would be good, and a lot that maybe will just be...
It's quite charming, to be sure, right? Like, that first episode is like, that's a very good standalone short film, like...
Yeah, right. That could just be by itself.
It has extreme Pixar vibes. Like...
The thing I'm definitely... the other aspect I'm kind of curious about is the end of the second episode where Yachio seems to have unlocked hidden achievements. Turns out,
yes,
she has secret objectives, and is this just gonna be the thing of like Yachio will like embark on this journey to unlock these hidden achievements, and they're all gonna be things that slowly like train her to like find meaning in life beyond the hotel. And I think it's the final objective will appear in big words, and it'll be live.
I think it's more like a joke, as in like, late capitalism programmed this robot to like have an endorphin rush when it unlocks an achievement, and therefore by gamifying its tasks we can like make it do the things it needs to do.
All right, but I'm just saying, let's return here in like 10 weeks, and when the penultimate episode's final objective is live your own life, Yachio, or something.
Or fall in love.
These are all possibilities. I personally just think they wanted it to be funny that she unlocks an absolutely useless
feature.
ability.
Well, I don't know. Is she generating water out of nowhere? I mean, that's actually pretty useful. If
so she wouldn't have to go into the forest to get water.
I don't know. To me, it felt like in Nichijou when Nano has the thing where she can like open her arm and a roll cake comes out. Like, it's kind of not. It's like, okay, well, that's a nice place to store your roll cake, I guess. That kind of
right.
But what if you could generate roll cakes out of nothing? You could solve world hunger.
Yeah.
But I don't want to solve world hunger. I want to turn my robot's hands into roll cakes.
I think this is definitely... even Aqua, if you did call this to some extent, this is probably still I don't think any of us are expecting us to enjoy it to this extent, or to be, one of the better things that we're watching this season, right? Like it is a bit of a surprise in that regard, I think, and I think there's a lot of potential. I don't know if I would ever see this going in, like, just being awful from this point, just with how good the execution's been. But I could also see it kind of getting, kind of just like,
God, we are so cynical.
How many times have we said this? How many times
we have
said this?
I could see it maybe getting, like, I don't know, boring or something.
Guys, yes. Ranking of Kings can't fail. There's no way you could go sour.
Okay, all right.
Right. Ranking of Kings is locked in, guys.
We can't relitigate.
That wasn't even an anime original.
We can't relitigate Ranking of Kings, but I feel like that was a all-time, like, reversal that. That is more of an exception than the rule, but
it could happen to your favorite anime.
All right, we'll see what happens with Apocalypse Hotel.
Everything that rises must inevitably fall.
All right.
Well, speaking of rising,
let's talk about Moonrise. I did not watch this, so somebody's gonna have to fill in. But this is the. What did we call this? We have Gundam at home.
Yes,
conceptually last time.
If I had $1 for every time an ex Nitro Plus or employee makes a prestigious remake of Mobile Suit Gundam, I would have $2, which isn't much, but still very strange if you think of it.
You know, that's a good point to make there, Aqua, and I think that I think there are some auspicious similarities here at play. Well, you know what? I'll say this in Moonrise's favor. It doesn't make me as mad as I'll Noah Zero did. I'll Noah Zero, as we all know, is famously one of my 4 mecha horsemen of the apocalypse. It is one of the mecha anime that I consider so bad that I cannot merely agree to disagree about it. If you like this show, I probably don't like you.
When they choked that girl in the shower, man, that was so edgy.
Look, this is genre I'm passionate about. And point is, Moonrise is not that bad. It's not that good either, to be clear.
It's only mildly bad and not extremely bad.
Moonrise is weird. It's really weird. So this has been dropped on Netflix, so it has been binged. It's probably a bad sign that in the opening week it came out, I saw zero talk of it anywhere, which is rough. You were gonna say that even the producer was like, help. Oh, is that true?
Did that happen?
Yeah. So well,
no, I didn't hear about this. What?
Maybe it was the director. I think it was the producer though. One of the producers of the show put out this was a few weeks ago, so before it aired though, saying basically, hey Netflix, can you do more to promote this?
Oh, holy shit.
We were not aware that our show had been released.
But they didn't say Netflix, they said Red N.
Oh my god!
But I mean, what do you like? What can I assume from this? Essentially Netflix, like, can you please, like?
Oh, that's very good.
Man, that kind of gets at like the problem with like the Netflix anime format, right? Or not the Netflix anime, the Netflix format, period, right? I mean, yeah. I was going to make a reference to JoJo Stone Ocean, like dying at release because of the binge format, and that's a hugely popular anime, and even that kind of burnt out in like a week or two. Like, what hope does something like Moonrise have?
I cannot for the life of me understand why anyone would willingly choose for an anime, especially an anime series, to just dump it all, because you are absolutely guaranteed gonna kill, like, beyond a certain point, any hype that you have.
But I definitely think so. Like, Netflix don't care about that way of watching, of consuming fiction. Their model is we just throw everything at you and we'll see what gains traction and becomes popular on the TikToks.
Right. Well,
and then we'll promote that.
They have been. Like, that's the thing. More and more recently, a year or two ago, I would have agreed, but in the last few seasons, they have been leaning far more into the week by week model.
Yeah,
that's probably when it's forced by the Japanese producers, right? When they're like, we want to air this on TV in Japan, and you cannot, spoil this before it airs on TV.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more variety in that. It's the situation where it's like Netflix is giving you a huge amount of money to make your anime, and that it is what it is, right? And it's I think something like Dungeon Meshi already has a certain
it has the clout
going in, whereas I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case with Moonrise, right?
I mean, I think so.
I'm assuming though the anime in fact would not have been any better if it had been released.
No, I don't think so. Because
that's the thing. Like this thing was made laser focused to target the. It's almost as egregious as Lazarus, right? This is laser focused to target the 2000s anime. I watched anime on Adult Swim. This is you could from the creator of Full Metal Alchemist. You could put that on here, like
not the creator. The character design.
They will, but they will put that on there. Like,
well, it's funny you say that because the characters in the anime itself barely look like Arakawa's art.
Right.
There's a couple of characters you look at and you go, oh, that's an Arakawa character. Anyways, let me actually talk about...
Let's bring it back to the
We've
show
litigated
itself.
the Netflix format many times on this podcast. So the thing with Moonrise is, yes, it is the sort of classic space opera situation of the people on the moon. They no longer want to be whalers on the moon with their harpoon. I'm going to do that bit every time I talk about the moon. They are rising up. They are moon rising up. That is literally how the first episode ends. They shout "Moonrise" because that's what we're doing. It's bad.
Is this a sequel to the hit Roland Emmerich movie Moonfall?
Yes, it fell and then it rose and then it fell. Yes. Yeah, so it is so it's set up as the kind of space opera, space independence versus Earth hegemony kind of situation that we've seen, again, literally since 1979. But the way it's set up is very strange. So the first episode opens with this very kinetic, exciting action prologue. Where they're like doing, you can tell this is Studio Wit. You can tell this is the Attack on Titan people because they're like doing all these kind of crazy looking, like 0G bouncing around like midair flips and twists maneuvers as they fight these like robots that are chasing after them. And then it kind of does the 1 year ago, and it flashes back to how did our cast of anime teens end up fighting robots on the moon. And to be absolutely clear to all listeners, I do not I do not categorically hate the rich. However, I am probably much less sympathetic to the wealthy on average.
I don't think that's controversial here.
So,
if anything, I might personally go harder. But yes.
Look, I'm just covering my bases here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the story starts out with our teen heroes all being rich, useless socialites in Neo LA.
Oh shit! Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Is this Gunkotsuo level of socialites we're talking here with the
because
absurdly wealthy.
Yes, I guess actually I was gonna say no because they're not foppish, they're not European coded. These are these are rich Americans, right? We're talking
they're new money rich, not
new
old
money
rich.
They're taking selfies out of their convertible. They're gambling with tens of thousands of dollars at the casino. The main character is the adopted son of this world's largest corporation who explicitly owes its wealth due to the exploitation of labor on the moon. And so that's our protagonist.
That sounds like American Gunkotsuo, yeah.
Gunkotsuo USA. And so they're like, oh, like they're not like evil, like they're not like, hey, I love spitting on the poor, but they are like rich and useless and like not conscious of the world and the privilege they inhabit. And I mean, I don't need these rich people to look into the camera and be like, we need to square away with the reality that our wealth is earned through. Like, I don't need that, but like, it just means that they're not particularly sympathetic, right? Like, because they're rich, they are privileged, and their privilege is based on the oppression of an underclass. Maybe not their knowing oppression of an underclass, but they are directly benefiting from it. And so, like, the rest of the first episode is like them having fun being rich. And then the moon blows up the Capitol Tower. My apologies. The lunar elevator.
So we can't Moonrise anymore.
Yeah, they blow up they blow up a space elevator, and all the debris comes falling down on Neo LA, and Jacob Shadow. My bad, that's the protagonist's name. His name is Jacob Shadow, the adopted son of the Shadow couple, the owners of the Shadow Corporation. This really good, clean, helpful, philanthropic corporation, the Shadow Corporation.
Right. I know authors that use subtlety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Y'all are like, oh, Tomio, he's a little on the nose when he called Giren Hitler. This is on the nose, but in a bad way.
Right.
Anyways, so all this debris from the elevator falls on them. They're all like, almost killed in this thing, and they're rising up. And then in the second episode, Jacob Shadow is taken in by the CIA because they think he's connected to the moon terrorism. They're like, we found your DNA at the site of the moon crash. I don't fuck. This is like where the plot gets confusing because they're all like, Jacob Shadow was an enemy of the state.
Why? But he was there because he was a victim. That's why they found his DNA there.
And this is why it gets confusing, right? Because you watch his perspective this whole show. And he is, again, despite the fact that I'm not sympathetic towards him, he is clearly the victim of this horrifying terrorist attack. And
is this supposed to be like a commentary on like, oh, the police are not transparent and they will manipulate evidence and make up...
it's not.
Charges to have an easy scapegoat.
It's just badly told because they explain retroactively that, well, you see, Jacob Shadow was an orphan adopted by the Shadow family. He was actually a child experiment raised in the Flanagan Institute.
Wow. Truly unprecedented.
Along with his good friend Phil. Phil and Jacob were raised by father on the facility. To be special children, and
do they know this, or is it kind of repressed memory, or they just
no Jacob knows
too
this.
Young to remember. They do.
No, he knows this. He knows this the whole time, and is explaining in retroactive, like to us, the viewer, his true origins as a special space orphan.
Oh no.
But an accident happened at the orphanage. By the way, this orphanage is in space. It's a space orphanage. And father, who we find out is Bob Skylum, the leader of the Moon Independence. Father went mad one fateful night, and the facility basically blew up, and Jacob lost his arm, and his good friend Phil cut off... like Metal Gear Solid, his good buddy Phil cut off his arm and grafted it to Jacob's arm, and I think took Jacob's arm for him.
Are we just doing Mad Libs at this point, like anime Mad Libs?
Dude, this show fucking it's bad, but somehow Ira and I have largely arrived at the conclusion that maybe we would still rather watch Moonrise than Lazarus, but we'll get to that.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's bad, and so they explain that, because of that, Jacob, your DNA was found. It's like, clearly the obvious thing is, like, Phil has Jacob's DNA because of their arm switcheroo or whatever. And anyways, it all culminates in, like, and then it flashes back to, like, not the present, but like 6 months later, 9 months later, Jacob and all of his rich socialite teen friends are now moon commandos going on a mission to assassinate Bob Skylum with zero explanation why we are sending these rich, useless children with military training to go assassinate Moon Hitler. Like,
I mean, that's like, a statement. That is a
like,
sentence.
It's very confusing. Like, Jacob, I could almost see, because like there's like, oh well, maybe like you have to go on this mission to assassinate Moon Hitler to win your freedom. But like all of his useless rich friends are also there, racked up and ready to go kill some Moonies. And they make zero explanation why they're there or why they joined or how they got their powers that we saw in the action prologue. Okay. And it very much feels like, oh, this is a show where you're meant to like binge 5 episodes at once, because I'm sure they'll probably explain retroactively in episodes 3 or 4 how they got their powers. But if you're watching this week to week like a normal human being, it's very confusing.
Well, I guess we'll talk more about Lazarus, but at least that sounds like a more interesting mess than Lazarus's kind of boring, soulless.
That's broadly kind of what we're arriving at. Is that Moonrise is a mess? It's like everybody look again. You know, if you take a shot at the king, you best don't miss. And it's like everybody looks at the genius himself, Yoshiyuki Tomino, and the vast tapestry of nuanced socio-political storytelling that he's achieved in his long and storied career, and they think, I could do that. You can't.
You can't.
You actually can't. You're not built like him. You ain't him.
Well, I guess we'll see as you guys watch at a normal human pace how things go. I'm assuming you're going to watch a little bit more.
I am kind of scared, though, Jill. It's 18 episodes. It's not a 1-course show. It's a 1.5. I don't know, like... That's 3/4 of a Kyokai Senki, man.
And don't all the episodes also have a different length as well?
Wait, do they?
It's a real Netflix.
I heard, well, not like a crazy, not like one episode is half an hour. And
one might be like 35 minutes or some crazy
between
number.
20 to 40. I don't know the exact.
Bro, I can't do 44-minute episodes of Moonrise. That'll kill me.
All right.
I don't know, for the record, if any episode is going to be 44 minutes. I just heard they were all like not always specific.
Man, I am jumping around. I am jumping around randomly. Oh yeah, they're different lengths. None of them is 40 minutes, but they are like 20 to 35-ish, I guess is what I'd say.
All right. Well, we'll see how long you guys survive. But you know, like I said, maybe that is at least an interesting mess to watch. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, speaking of the original article,
speaking of the original, we can't keep doing this. How many
baby, 3-episode podcasts in a row. I get to relitigate the UC.
2 episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuX.
I hate you guys so much.
Okay, all right. Look.
Wow. Okay.
Let me get this out of the way. The first 2 episodes officially aired TV wise. Nothing has changed since the theatrical airing. If you want our full, there's one change, but we'll get to that in a second. If you want our full, very lengthy breakdown of the first couple of episodes, go back to episode 183 of the GLORIO chat, where we, I think unfortunately, Artemis, you were on that one too. I apologize.
I don't recall. I just kind of block it from my memory.
But yes, the first couple episodes we go in depth on there. They didn't change anything content wise in the TV airing. They did. I was kind of right. Decide to air what would be the second episode first.
Yes,
that was a good decision.
which was I think the smart thing to do. Yes, they start at the point where we're introduced to the actual new characters and what the show is going to be, rather than the fan fiction prologue. But the weird thing is they decided to air that part in episode 2, which
I think it was inevitable, right? Like, I think they were like, again, credit where it's due, Gel, you completely called it correctly, that they were not going to start with the UC prologue. But I was still fairly convinced this is a thing they were going to want to get to early.
Okay.
A ripping off of the proverbial Band-Aid, I think.
Yeah, because it just felt like a weird, like, at that point, it just felt like a weird time to do it, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe you dumped that in episode 6 or something. I don't know, but like
I think they felt like they had to get it early because like episode 1 of the TV order already gets into the like reveal that this is an alternate UC, right? That this takes place in UC 85, that Zeon won the war, and I think once you like propose those concepts, I think for a lot of like UC diehards like me who are like screaming through the glass, you have to kind of address what you are doing with your alternate UC.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Because like the first episode ends with the declaration that the like mustache dude is looking for Char, right? Because Char has gone missing, but the red Gundam is still flying around. So it makes sense that on the next episode you would. I think also that like doing this later on would kill any and all momentum, which I think is already an issue with having it as a second episode.
I would definitely agree. I think I think that's the problem, right? Is like I think this is a very, you know, you can listen to the many conversations Zig, Iro, and I have had about like what this UC prologue means and what it did for us individually. Zig just wrote a post. He is aiming to do some weekly coverage of GQuuuuuuX.
Yes, and you can also go read about it in addition to listening to
our first look post as well.
Yes.
We kind of get into the weeds about this, but like, I do think it's an interesting prologue. But I keep coming back to the point that I don't know this show was actually helped by its existence.
Yep.
You guys have heard my points about this many times, so I'll be happy to give the floor on GQuuuuuuX episode 1 and 2 to those who
I also
familiar.
I also stated mine when we first talked about it. I agreed where it's like why couldn't this just been a normal, you know, AU, right? Why did we have to even bring the UC stuff into it, has been my opinion. But other than, you know, the letting, you know, Anno or whoever fanboy out and redraw, you know, the blasphemy of Char getting the Gundam, right? But
speaking of blasphemy, I'm going to say something. Anno is becoming a liability, man.
Yes.
They need to get rid of him. Like, his dedication to like slavish devotion to the source material is not good here, was bad in Shin Kamen Rider, was kind of a problem in Shin Godzilla, and is ruined Shin Evangelion.
Aqua, why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Like,
look, I sympathize with Anno wanting to relive his childhood, but I think I agree.
This should have just been a Tsurumaki project. Yep. Like a Tsurumaki and Enokito project. Like, Anno is like, I am like, even if they were still committed to the alternate universe 1 year war thing, like,
yeah.
Now that we know Anno is taking credit for the prologue, we could actually say that his sensibilities, I think, are beginning to feel like a lodestone around like creative projects.
Yeah. Well,
it's like he always just wants to pay homage to the things that are not the reason why the things he's paying homage to have stood the test of time. Like, no, this is incredibly obvious in Shin Kamen Rider, where it's like, what is he referencing? Oh, like all of the like cheesy special effects that look terrible in modern day, and the like infantile morals, and not all of the fun things that people remember Kamen Rider for. It's like he has the wrong take on every single property he works with, and then turns his Shin interpretations. Like, it's actually quite ironic. Like, he calls it new thing, but it's just old thing. Like,
what about airplane food?
Well,
with that,
okay. Well, yeah, we can't fully litigate the Shin movies and whatnot, but the point stands is we're getting some of that here in
I guess that my question, Aqua, is as somebody who is like, obviously you are Gundam aware, right? You watched Witch from Mercury, you've watched some Gundams, like, or at least a Gundam, right? What, I guess broadly, like, I mean, I guess we're gonna ask Gel this, but like, what is your takeaway then from GQuuuuuX, right? As a holistically between episodes 1 and 2, right? Like, are there things that are working for you? Like are there like, despite some of the like impenetrability of like its setup?
I think the first episode, I have no complaints. Like it's a good setup. It has fun characters. It's well directed, well made. The references to the Universal Century do not bother me. They pique my interest. The only thing I have is like, oh, is this a thing we're supposed to know? Is this a concept we're supposed to know as a UC thing, or is this a new concept for the show? That was the only thing that's sort of confusing to me. The second episode was frustrating and boring, but not because they're talking about things I don't know. Like, that's technobabble. That comes with the genre. You know, it's flavoring, it's spice. They use terms that you don't know to set the scene, to build the world. What I found drab about it is, on one hand, the slavish devotion to replicating the style of the 70s, including the pacing of the 70s. And second of all, what is the point? We know what happened. Char got the Gundam and Zeon won the war. So what is the point of the rest of this episode where they name drop a bunch of things and go like, oh, this could be the way for Zeon to win the war. And it's just Char talking to himself over and over again and explaining what he's doing. It is just,
I think a lot of that
not
goes
very
back to
good.
like, yeah, I think a lot of this goes back to like Anno's like very otaku driven sensibility, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't mean that just in the like generic anime nerd. I mean otaku as in like Anno's obsession with like the details.
It is
like,
not
fiction.
enough to simply tell the audience Char got the Gundam instead of Amuro, and that's how Zeon won the war. We need to be explained like in detail how Zeon won the war.
Here's my spreadsheet that shows like how they won the war.
Yeah.
And like, some of those things, I got to admit, as a longtime Gundam fan, as a fellow Gun Ota of a sorts, there are things about it I do resonate with. There are things in that flashback I go, you know what? It's cool to see that detail acknowledged, or it is fun to see it very specific nerd minutiae recognized in a piece of media. But I think it's just that the number of times it veers into like egregious self-indulgence is, I don't think it's a net positive ratio in the end.
Just also how completely different it is from the first episode. Like, the first episode is very down to earth, is relatively like casual, accommodating to a new audience. It is about, you know, teens, hip teens doing like fun teen things, and
more like
the second episode is like, here are all these old men talking about like boring military and politics stuff.
Well, you're not wowed by yassified Shalia Bull.
Oh yeah, I love the art style shift. Is amazing,
dude. Everybody else just looks like their original 1979 incarnation, and then Shalia Bull walks on screen, and you're like,
his 2000s Gynax.
It tells you clearly who is going to be an important character in the rest of the show. Yes. Yeah.
Well, all right.
So I think to that end, the last thing I will say, right, is like, I guess my hope, right, is that, because so far as we know, this is going to be a 12-episode series, right? Like, and those of us who saw the movie already know the events of the third episode. So realistically, this anime basically has 9 episodes left to work with. I guess my earnest hope for this show is that Tsurumaki and Enokido's sensibilities will kind of win out in this kind of like war for the heart of this show, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I feel like they let Anno get it out of his system in episode 2, and we'll be back on track for the rest of the show.
Then they put him back in his cage. Yeah,
but we have to remember, Tsurumaki is responsible for one of the greatest sequels ever made, Die Buster. Yeah. Like, he knows how to spiritually follow up on something that will
and still put it in his style, right?
Yes, like evokes the echoes of the original, but in a new and like independent style. Like, we know Tsurumaki and Enokido are good at this, right? Fooly Cooly is not a sequel, but Fooly Cooly is spiritually a declaration of war against old Gynax.
Right.
Like,
yep.
we know they have this in them, that they can do it. And the question
I think they still can, but it's gonna be tough.
Can they do it in Gundam? You know, like we already know these hip teens say ACAB. You know, like this is promising. Look, I love Suletta and Miorine, but let us be completely clear: they are capitalist lesbians.
Pinkwashing.
All right, let's be clear. Miorine is a CEO. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Like we can celebrate we can celebrate their love while also condemning the economic system under which they operate.
All right. Yes.
All right.
But in this,
Nyan and Machu have a chance to say something real here. All right.
Yeah. I'm not going to totally hold my breath on that, but it's there, right? It is there for sure.
I do have to say one more thing. Kenshi Yonezu as like the new superstar anime OP guy. It's not happening, man.
It's such a shame because the visuals of the OP are actually quite good. I love them running. It's very charming. You know, it has strong Die Buster OP intro. And then the song is like,
it's just the same like bleepy bloopy 1,000 ideas in one that has plagued anime song for like 20 years. And
all right,
I looked this guy up, and guess what? He's a Vocaloid producer, so that explains it.
Okay, well, let's tie. Well, then, you know, speaking of Vocaloid, how about this for Galaxy Brain? What if they just got Yoasobi again?
I mean,
okay, like they can't do every
Mercury OP's really good. All right.
You know, I mean, if you ask Anno to write a short story so that weird freak from Yoasobi can turn it into a song, he'll do it.
Yeah. You know? All right. Well, ED, I like the ED.
ED's very charming.
ED's pretty good. So we'll see. I think there's still a ton of potential. I'm also still going to be shocked that this stays at actually 12 episodes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I know.
I mean, I need the surprise season 2 announcement for this, so bad.
Yeah, I'm not writing off more episodes entirely yet, but we'll see where it goes. And I'm sure this will be a hot topic every episode of the GLORIO chat. So.
All right, fine. One last shot. Shout outs to the GQuuuuuX gun tank. We got to see it properly for about 3 frames in episode 2.
Then it got blown up.
Look at that absolute unit. God, if that thing had survived the attack at Side 7, the Federation wouldn't even need the Gundam.
Absolutely.
Because, goddamn, look at the cannons on that thing. Man, that thing would have won the war on its own, man.
All right.
Bandai, please release a kit.
I'm sure they will. All right. I think that covers all of the new things that aired. There were a few shows that we got the first episode in last time, but we watched a few more episodes that I wanted to touch on. And at the top of my list for this season, my personal favorite thing airing at the moment is Kowloon Generic Romance, which I feel like got weirder in a good way over the episode 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. Artemis, you have not had a chance to talk about this yet, so I'm curious what your thoughts are on.
Yeah, so I don't mind if you spoil it, but I haven't seen episode 3 yet. I haven't had time today to watch it. But I have seen 1 and 2.
Yep.
I broadly like it. I could do without the fan service, but at the same time, I went in knowing that there would be some. Yeah. So it's not a shock to me, and it's fine. Like I can live with it. I would rather not, but I can.
Right. At least she's an adult.
Right. and I do, generally speaking, enjoy adult shows about adults doing adulty things. So
right.
Good for them. I like the kind of 90s-esque character designs going on. I feel like it is a very, very romanticized take on the setting, but sure.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last time, where is that, like, are they actually romanticizing it, or is that part of like sort of the evil, sort of sinister things going on in the background, which
I think it's romanticizing it. I think it is.
It probably is, although, well,
it could potentially be both, but I'm trying
to remember, because episode 2 and 3 are kind of blending together for me. I'm trying to remember how much into 3 they start getting into some of the more weird things going on.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm just seeing even things like when they show the interior of people's apartments, and I'm kind of thinking, were they actually that big? Because that's quite,
I would say no, like based on some of the photo documentaries I've seen.
If you have seen photos or anything, kind of documented content, then I just can't really imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely aspects of this show that I think are more like maybe less fetishizing Kowloon and more fetishizing the ideal of the like mixed urban walkable city.
I think the idea is not necessarily like Kowloon, but just like 80s Hong Kong, just like
it's
the
like,
same 80s Hong Kong that inspired like Firefly and Blade Runner and all of that stuff.
But the author of the manga was inspired by actual photos and books about the city. So
right,
I just.
I hear you though. It is
fine.
a little.
That's okay. Like it's fine. Yeah. But just go in knowing that,
Right.
That's the thing that seems interesting to me, because nostalgia is a very important theme in this show, because they remind you every 5 minutes. Hey, watermelons, goldfish, nostalgia. So I'm interested in seeing if they actually play that angle for like thematic resonance in the story itself, or if it's just like, oh, I want to set my story in Kowloon because I think it looks cool.
Right. I mean, just to be clear to listeners, nobody here has read the manga, correct?
No.
Okay, so we are all kind of basing our impressions purely off of the first 2 to 3 episodes.
I mean, so we don't know. I've kind of browsed through the first chapters of the manga just to see how the adaptation is, and I think this is a very liberal adaptation. They are shifting things around like there's no.
I think that might make sense depending, like for the needs.
I think that's show. Good. Manga is manga and anime is anime. Right.
The thing. So I wanted to say that first to just like preclude that to like any like speculation we have, right? Where I think there's like multiple elements at play here, right? Where I think it's doing the thing of like there's like a pseudo sci-fi background to this premise, but also there's like the romantic nature of the relationship that are all kind of getting at the same idea of like nostalgia as this like, if not dangerous, then this sort of like double-edged concept to chase after, right? Like it's nice to be a nostalgic, like being nostalgic feels good, right? Like it's one of those like human things that's like it's very hard to like train ourselves out of, right? How many times have Eero and I name dropped Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, right?
Why is every movie a remake of something from the 80s?
Right, like nostalgia is powerful, and it's a nice feeling, but also like it is not real, quote unquote, right? And I think that's kind of what we're getting into here with like the implications about this Kowloon walled city and the implications of Reijo, is it Reijo and Kudo's like relationship? What?
Reiko and
Fudo's like relationship, right? It's like, is there an element of like you can't go back, right? Like you can't like chase after what used to be. You have to kind of like come to terms with like what is in front of you. I can't say, right? None of us have read the manga, but that seems to be kind of what they're setting up here. And I think my enjoyment of this show is going to be kind of like like I do think they're now that I've watched the show, I don't hate the guy as much as maybe you do, Jill. I see where you're coming from. He is brusque in a way that like doesn't always work. I think they're also
I think they're also trying to channel a certain type of character from like 90s anime too, a little bit.
And the retroactive explanation that maybe some of this also stems from his own like weird internalized resentment of
because I mean,
the Reiko in front of him.
Right. How would you feel if like somebody was inhabiting the body of the person you love, but they were a totally different person, right? That's
right,
kind of
exactly.
What they're going for. There would be a certain
That's the
level
weird
of resentment.
thing, right? Because there's a lot of potential for like weird psychological horror in this that they haven't really cashed in yet.
And that's kind of what I'm curious about, right? Because
Artemis, what were you going to say?
I was going to just say I did find him less insufferable in the second episode. I think they calmed down a little bit with the.
Yeah, and I think by episode 3, I don't know if you guys got to see episode 3.
I saw episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think by episode 3 they do start to make you, like I said, think about that idea of okay, you can kind of understand why he would have some resentment toward her, even if it's not fair. Even if it's not fair to her, you can kind of understand.
Unfortunately, they then ruin all of that goodwill by introducing an even worse character.
So that's where I was actually going to get to is he shows up in the second episode, right? The doctor.
Yeah,
yes.
at the end of
Dr. Snake, Snakey McSnake with the snake tattoo and the snake eyes and the snake tongue.
Yeah, Dr. Snakefucker over here. I don't know what to make of this character, and again, I won't spoil anything from episode 3. I think episode 3, I don't think there's much to it kind of just confirms and reinforces aspects of the character that are introduced in episode 2. Like, he is doing the, like, effete, kind of vaguely sexually menacing,
I mean, he is a creepy bisexual guy. Like, come on,
guys,
it's 25.
Like, are we setting him up to be like sort of a predator, right? A source of danger for Reiko?
The guy who's too alternative even for Kowloon.
Like, I don't think we're actually. God, I hope. Like, I think he is introduced to be such a nasty character. I don't think we are going to get an actual love triangle here. I don't think that's the intent. Like, because like he's off-putting.
I don't think they're going that way.
It would speak really poorly if Reiko fell for this dude. All right, just saying. Like, this guy is so intensely off-putting.
I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, but I'm not getting that vibe. I think it's more. He
has his sights set on her, right? In a way that
he does.
Untoward.
Yes. I don't see it going both ways. But he had, and I feel like he's probably more interested in her for the sake of whatever experiment or whatever thing is going on here,
right?
Than on a personal level, but
yes, he's my favorite type of character, pervert scientist who does everything for the data.
I do think that's kind of where they're going with that.
Yeah.
But
I think so too, just based on what I saw.
Yes. On the other foot, though, I did rather like the introduction of Yome, I believe, the blonde character. I don't know what to necessarily read into like some of the subtext of what she says in the episode where she meets or where Reiko meets her, where like she is somebody who has seemingly embraced the idea of like living in the now, right? Of embracing a fluid identity. Right.
She has gone goblin mode, as the kids would say.
Yeah, like we don't know how far, but the implication is she has gone through a lot of cosmetic surgery of some sort to like dramatically change like who she was
and who she was,
and has found comfort. And
she decided she wanted to look like a character from Tenchi Muyo, I guess.
Yeah, and the fact that the idea that she has found satisfaction and happiness in that, right, and that there is something to be said about like, like.
Yeah.
Maybe not like the literal like, oh, you should get a facelift to become perfect, but more like you should embrace changing yourself if it will make you like happy.
It goes into the big theme of the being able to move on and move forward and keep becoming a new person instead of longing for the past, which I feels like the main theme of all the characters to some degree, right?
It's refreshing to find a character in this show who, I mean, to be fair, she still lives in Kowloon, but like does not seem to be weighed down by nostalgia or longing for the past.
Right.
She seems to be more finding comfort in the grand phenomenon, like just like. doesn't want to stand out, right? She wants to blend in and just live within this setting completely anonymously, I suppose.
Which she achieves by becoming a blonde-haired, green-eyed woman in the Kowloon wall city.
I mean, A, Mukokuseki, B, I think the whole idea of this Kowloon is that it is sort of like a gathering place for drifters from all over the world. You know, there's some
You're right, but also she's the only person who looks like that in this whole show.
I guess.
Well, yeah, but is she like that, or is she anime like that? Like, are people
I know.
Green-eyed lady, or is that just how she appears to
and
be?
I think
it's just that the rest of the characters of the show have been broadly like darker haired, right? Or what you'd assume anyway.
Yeah, and I think
isn't there a character with green hair? Like,
wait, who?
Yes. The guy, the masked guy.
Oh yeah, but is that
green?
Is that like okay? Is that anime green where it's actually black?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and I do think I feel like this is not real Kowloon, right?
No,
this is some kind of like simulation or projection or something.
You have the third angel floating in the sky.
Yeah.
Like
people, I've been trying to pay attention. I feel like only Reiko and the doctor guy have had smartphones. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, but in the third episode, there are laptops. Like, they use laptops. They also say it's in Hong Kong. Like,
are they laptops?
Well, notably during the flash,
big chunky like. At the real estate company, don't they?
Yeah, they have like old computers at the real estate company, right?
In the third episode, Reiko has a laptop at her work.
Okay.
But I'm saying she's the only one that has like technology or something, right? That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's meant to be literal Kowloon, is what I'm getting at. I feel like
because I
feel like this is supposed to be some kind of simulation. Like you said, the third angel is hanging over our heads. Like something is weird going on.
That's not the third angel, by the way.
I know
it's freak logging on.
Whatever.
Which one is it? Like fucking the 5th, the 6th,
the 8th or something? I don't know.
8th? Man.
No, the one that we don't have time for this. Go ahead, Georgie. What was your point?
It's
the 5th. Yes.
5th. Okay. Yes. Okay. Fine. Ramiel. Yes. Anyways. During the flashback with Kudo and Reiko B, as they call her, right? Flashback Reiko.
Yep.
The polygon's not in the sky during the flashback.
Yeah.
All
right.
So there's definitely some,
yeah.
Something's going
on. Yeah.
In almost all the copy for this show, like the official summaries, they keep referring to it as a gentle dystopia. And I think
it's not a bad description. I mean,
I think a lot of the show, also with its discussions of nostalgia, is going to be about this contrast of like utopia, dystopia, right? Because at this point, it seems almost like a utopia. You have this place where all the drifters in the world can go and be free and live together and have a good time and enjoy life.
Apparently, it is not completely run over by drug dealers and triads.
Yeah.
But they're clearly hinting that something's not right.
I'm sure the cops there are also lovely.
Right. They're hinting that something is off, though, right? Like it's not what it appears to be, and that's the whole point. I think for me, so like this is my favorite thing going right now, and there's problems with it for sure. Like I think they're doing a pretty good job of telling the story without just like info dumping it all on you, but it's not subtle at all, right? Like there's a lot of just very unsubtle things about it, where I think they're being perhaps more clever than they really are. But I like. Maybe I'm being a sucker for the nostalgia, but I like the vibes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm falling into their trap.
It's a vibes show. And like for me, the vibes kind of carry the show. It's a mood.
Yeah. And the fact that we can have like
that mood. Yeah.
The fact that we can have even like any kind of analysis on it at all is refreshing lately, because I feel like I have not had anything to sink my teeth into in that regard. Even if a lot of it is very unsubtle and obvious, it's just, something to at least engage your brain a little bit is satisfying to me. But I
think what I would like to see from the show going forward is up to now, Reiko seems very much like a character that things just happen to, and other people make her decisions for her. And I sort of hope that she'll become a bit more of an active factor, that it's not just a story of like weird things are happening to me, but more like that she's actually going to investigate those things,
we saw a little bit of that with like the looking for the guy from the waiter guy and stuff. I think we might get some of that as time goes on here, because she's clearly like recognizing something's wrong, and by episode 3 I think she has an emotional push to move.
I think the ending of episode 3 is pretty touching, but like it's the whole thing. It's like it's the psychological horror potential of, right? Everyone thinks that you're a fake, that you do not deserve the life that you lead, that it is not yours, that the decisions that you make, that you value about yourself, are not actually yours. I think that has a lot of potential that I would love to see the show get into, right? Yeah, especially this whole thing of like, but there are some things that are mine. I'm in love with you. That is my decision. And then the guy's like, "Oh, is it?" Like,
right? Yeah,
it's pretty.
And I think my guess is sometimes they will play with that stuff, and sometimes they won't. We'll probably get a little bit of it here and there, but we'll see. I'm enjoying it though.
Also, I think the manga has been announced to be ending, so this might be a full adaptation.
So they might have the whole story. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, as long as that creepy Dr. Snake guy doesn't...
We'll see.
Yeah,
I'm so ready for that dude to be in every episode.
Oh, but he has extreme... Like, it's been...
Like, girl your heart, it's happening.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had this vibes of like this one character is going to ruin this entire show for me, but like...
We'll see. All right. Let's keep moving and talk about Rock is a Lady's Modesty. I enjoyed the first episode, maybe not so much the second episode and third episode.
The second one, I thought the second one was better than the first one.
I actually okay.
I think it has better jokes.
The second episode was a lot of So in the first episode, they had the main girl, discovers the other girl plays drums, and they play guitar, and they have their little showdown or whatever, right? And so the second episode is a lot of the main girl kind of coming to grips with, I can't play guitar. I'm supposed to be a proper lady. I will become the noble maiden. The noble maiden. Yeah. Reasons that are still not entirely clear. They kind of hint, I think, at some things, but
their reason is like, I don't want my stepdad to divorce my mom because I'm not ladylike enough. I
think there's some implication or something like that, and they don't fully explain it. They give you some like little flashback shots or whatever, but right. And so she's determined to do this no matter what, and she kind of comes to grips with that by the end of episode. I think by the end of episode 2, she's like, because I watched them kind of back to back, but I can be a lady and play guitar or something. Yeah. Let's form a band. And episode 3 is kind of getting more into the...
Is that just again?
Yeah. I feel like episode 2 and 3 you could have just combined together. That's basically what I'm getting to. They stretched it out a little too long for me.
Absolutely.
Because we still need to... By the end of episode 3, we still have to bring in like other girls and make the full band and everything, right? Like, and
I think the problem
to do still, but... The pacing, I think, feels a little off to me.
I think the problem is this is all they have.
And there's literally nothing to work with here other than
this is what they have. I shouldn't play rock because I'm a lady. Oh, but playing rock is fun. Let's go insane while playing rock and be gay. And that's it. This show has 2 jokes. The show has 2 jokes. I can't play rock because that's not ladylike. Oh no, I did something unladylike. And the second joke is haha gay.
Yeah,
and the thing is, these women are not as mentally ill as advertised.
My problem with this show is no one has this problem. No one in the world goes to a fancy Ojo-sama school but actually wants to play rock music. Because the fancy Ojo-sama school does not exist. It's something that anime invented.
Okay,
so, all right. Look, we can't.
Like, you can't say like, oh, I can play rock because I'm an Ojo-sama. Who says that? You made it up. So
Are you going to complain about like how the Gundam could never stand up? It's 20-meter talls. The weight would crush it if
the thing
it stood
is,
up.
my problem is not that. My problem is that the central. I just don't buy the central premise of this. What is the problem? Just play rock music. Like, I don't know.
So
for some reason, it irks me.
So yeah, I can deal with that. I think we just needed more like, I don't
jokes.
Know, the sort of, over the top, music performance sequences, and like the way they flip the switch and turn into like these, like, I don't know,
lesbian sex. They're having lesbian sex. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's basically. But yes, as metaphorically depicted by their musical performance,
and also literally.
The artist being really into sweat, like in a borderline weird way. But that energy is too spread out. This is why I feel like if they had combined episode 2 and 3, maybe it would have been okay, and we could start getting into bringing in the rest of the band. Whereas there was just a lot too much like, I can't play guitar. I'm a lady, and let's stretch that out for a whole episode before we get back around to whatever. So, and it's really probably more the pacing thing, and it's maybe it'll be better moving forward now that they've made up their mind to start the band. But there's just not a lot to work with here, and it's already been spread thin over the first 3 episodes. And I'm concerned that there's not going to be much to work with for the rest of the show. So,
like, what just worries me is that this entire 3rd episode, like the entire first half, is just another like bit where they play a song and they try to one up one another, and they both go, "A crazy evil woman," and in the end they yell at each other. But that's what happened at the end of the first episode. It's just the same thing.
Yeah, they did the exact same thing in episode 3. Yeah,
and that's just. I think that's just the show, That's
now they have to bring in the next girl, and now they're going to be they're going to be in the same side, but they're going to tell the next girl that she's terrible, and then it's the cycle.
Yeah.
So, but that is that is the concern, is they do not have a lot more to work with here. But I don't know. I still like the show's energy. I'll give it another episode or 2 and see where we go. But I don't know. I
don't know. It just feels a bit all too manufactured, like the whole setting. I just don't buy it. Like,
and
for some reason it irks me more than because anime is all artifice, right? Characters in anime don't act like actual people. But
there have been crazier ideas that anime has presented to us.
But like the thing is, this is such a anime specific setting.
Yeah, I mean they're very much
correspondence with anything in the real world.
Right, they're very much playing. It's almost a parody of like those types of shoujo anime type of Ojo-sama schools, right? Yeah, I understand, but
like the thing is, that trope has not been played straight in like 40 years.
It is what it is. It's the injecting the rock and roll. It's supposed to be fun, but
I do have to say,
so they can reference notable bands such as Red Hot Chili Peppers, Linkin Park,
Led Zeppelin.
Yes,
how do you do, fellow kids? I mean, you say this, but those are still the most popular rock and roll bands of the current era, because there are barely any new popular rock and roll bands.
Those are all different, wildly different eras, but
I mean.
Definitely Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin, yes, but Peppers and Linkin Park are
there's overlap, but
can be contemporary.
Yes, we can't get into music discussion, but
look, I'm just saying, if you ask someone nowadays on the street to say name a band that makes rock music, there's like a 9 out of 10 chance that they say Linkin Park. Like,
Anyway, the one final point I want to make on this, because this is the most important part. The main girl plays the guitar. She plays.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Of course. Jell's instrument update.
This is the single most important part. She's playing a pink Paul Reed Smith PRS, if you will, guitar, which of course was very popular in the 90s and 2000s with hard rock and metal bands. And in my research to confirm this, just to make sure I was not going crazy, the official Twitter account of this anime has a video message from Paul Reed Smith himself saying that he watched the clip from episode 1 and it was very cool and everybody should go watch this anime. He was very excited that they used his guitar. I'll put the show notes and link it to you guys later. But there's an actual from the official Twitter account message from Paul Reed Smith himself. Damn. This 70-year-old
is this the first time
white man.
One of these like guitar makers have actually acknowledged the like proliferation of anime girls with really expensive guitars?
Well, the other ones are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
cart out the corpse of Les Paul to be like, Yui Hirasawa is my spirit.
Okay, surely there's somebody at that company.
But somebody from the company could have acknowledged.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jel, maybe, this podcast is running long, but one day I'm going to need to, like, nail you down and make you give your, like, stack rank tier list of, like, anime girls' taste in guitars.
Okay,
right?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's already
like
Nina from Girls Band Cry, but
Nina's locked for what? For top tier, huh? Okay.
Yeah, she's got the weird Telecaster that she plays. I very much like.
Sure.
Because I'll have to think about it.
Right, like you throw in like Haruko and Bochi and all these other characters.
Haruko plays girls. A bass guitar.
Well, yeah, I could include that in the ranking.
Oh, come on! Look, it's.
I'll think about that one. But yes.
Oh, hey, do have to point out that the PRS is also the signature guitar of Bandmate, the band that does all the music for this show.
Yeah.
And I have to say, OP sucks, but the original instrumental music that they made for their rock-offs is actually pretty fun. Like it's nice, it's appropriate, and simple and catchy and appropriate. Yeah, and it's actually like
I like the
yeah. I do get the feeling. Like the cool thing is like when they perform, it feels like actually performed music and not just like we play a heavily processed like studio recording. Right. And in the credits, you can see that they actually got like the guitarist and the drummer for Bandmate in the studio to like record. I think sessions.
I think in the Paul Reed Smith message, he also shouts out Bandmate.
Hey, I'm sure
it's making him. Yeah, I'm sure it's making him money. So
I have the Wikipedia article for PRS guitars open, and it says who plays PRS guitars. Oh, guess what? It's Brett Delson of Linkin Park and Kanami Tono of Bandmate, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers' most beloved guitarist Dave Navarro.
Oh yeah, the real Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist plays a Fender. I forget which one he plays, but yes. Anyway, got that out of the way. I'll watch a little more of the show. We'll see how it goes. Let's move on. Guilty Gear. G, you're still watching it?
I'm still watching it. I'll give like a longer recap maybe in a different podcast. Not just because we're running long, but also because there truly is not a ton to say about dual rulers.
Okay. I heard Bridget showed up.
What?
I heard Bridget showed up.
Oh yeah, she appeared in like episode 2. Yeah, I mean, it very much in these sort of like when Bridget's not on screen, the characters should ask, "Where's Bridget?" Like, I love Bridget, but like, actually, no hate to Bridget the character. I kind of don't like Bridget the fighting game character. To be clear, don't try to cancel me for this. She's just kind of a scumbag character to fight in the game. All right, but So actually, maybe I don't love Bridget, but look, she is like the most like least relevant character in the entire Guilty Gear franchise. So like to just put her here so much, very much feel like look, it's your Blorbo. Here she is. She's doing yo-yo tricks over here. What does that have to do with the plot? Nothing. But
it's the character that single-handedly put our franchise back on the map.
I'm throwing stones in glass houses here because Baiken also shows up, and Baiken also an extremely irrelevant character, maybe like a tier up in relevance because she's Japanese, and as we all know in the Guilty Gear universe, being Japanese inherently gives you special powers in the Guilty Gear setting. That's why that man had to orchestrate the genocide of the Japanese in the Guilty Gear lore, because only the Japanese would have the powers to oppose the. Anyway,
are you saying Guilty Gear is a sequel to Code Geass?
Oh,
but right. She's there too for some reason, and I'm not going to pretend like that wasn't also shoehorned in. Really, that's all I can really say about Guilty Gear Strive Dual Rulers. Is it just feels like they're just shoehorning in a lot of, this is the thing you like, rather than try to tell a like coherent narrative.
Yeah. All right. We can catch up more on that later when there perhaps is when all of our other favorite characters have showed up.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's perhaps for the last time in our esteemed final spot on the list talk about Lazarus.
I still don't know why this is taking up the final spot.
I just didn't move it is basically why it's still here, but
dude, this show sucks so bad. Holy shit.
Okay, I did not have the desire to watch any more of this past for episode 1, so I will defer to you all.
Oh man.
Or
wait,
if anybody other than G has watched more of it.
Yes, Artemis, I did.
Artemis,
yes,
watched
I did.
more?
Yes, I did. I have seen every episode so far.
Okay.
So just purely out of curiosity, how would your opinions of me as a person change if I said I really liked it? I don't. Just for the record, I don't. I just wanted to see what you would say.
You really put me on the spot there. Holy shit!
I really just wanted to fuck with you guys.
All right,
entrapment.
In all seriousness, this is not like an apocalyptically bad show. Like it's not like this is not like this is not like this show is actively harmful to like the medium. I just don't like it. I just don't like how like cynical it is. I don't like how like how like cynical it is in its like attempt to ape like Cowboy Bebop. I felt this really badly in episode 3 where so they're trying to find Dr. Skinner, right, because he made the Tylenol what kills you in 30 days. Right. And like I can tell like this is modern Watanabe, which means he is trying to say something. And his heart might even be in the right place while he's trying to say something. But man, is he really bad at saying that thing. Iro and I watched the 3rd episode where they're also doing the thing of like every episode Axel is teaming up with a different member of the crew to like kind of introduce you to the dynamic. But it really doesn't work because A, they don't spend that much time together. B, there's not even they don't have that much like chemistry, and like C, even when they are paired up, they're rarely actually interacting with each other. Like this week he's paired up with Doug, the like serious like black dude with the cool revolver, and like that's all I could say about him because I don't he doesn't really have much else of a personality other than he's serious and he has a cool gun. And he has an extremely shoehorned story about American racial politics in his backstory that like really doesn't work for me. So Iro and I were watching this episode, and Iro, credit to him, clocked exactly what felt so wrong about like Lazarus' storytelling and the way the characters talk and the way that information is delivered. And despite the fact that this is airing on Adult Swim, the dialogue feels very modern Netflix. And by that, specifically, the characters describe what they are doing as if assuming you are not engaging with Lazarus as your primary, like, focus while engaging with it.
You have it on in the background.
You have it on the background while you're making dinner.
Right.
Because in the 3rd episode, they go to a homeless camp because the person they're looking for who has ties to Dr. Skinner, who is rumored to be at this homeless camp, And so they go there, and they're looking for a character named Jerry, who was like somebody Axel knew in prison. And they're looking around, like, hey, you guys know Jerry? He's supposed to be the one who runs this camp. And everyone's like, no, but we do know Jill. Jill runs the camp. And they finally meet Jill, and Jill was Jerry. Jill is a transgender woman who is running the homeless camp, and they make Jill say out loud, as a transgender woman who has experienced the hardships of bankruptcy, I know a thing or two about like what it means to be homeless in the world. And it's like,
there had to be a better way to do that, right? Instead of just explaining it, right?
You didn't have to explain it, Watanabe. Like, the visual storytelling was sufficient.
Right. Are we gonna have to invoke Garth Marenghi twice in one episode?
And it's like, and it's like, it's not even that like Jill is like some gross stereotype of a transgender woman. Like, there is an acknowledgement, like, you know, they do the quick thing of Axel is like, oh, you're Jill now? All right, then what's up, Jill? It's good to see you again, right? And so you have your like, okay, here's our dialogue to establish this dynamic. And yet they still felt the need for the character to look into the camera and explain her circumstances as if like I wasn't paying attention.
Right.
And then later, because initially, you know, Jill doesn't trust Doug because Doug is a stuck up, like he's clearly like an academic. He comes from a different background. And so he's like, well, you know, actually, I've had my fair share of hardship in America. You see, as a black academic, one of my professors said there would never be a black Einstein. And so in a fit of rage, I decked him in the face. But that spelled the end of my academic career. So I also know, like, the pains of systemic discrimination. And it's like...
It's like, you can tell their heart's in the right place, right? But it's just like, the fact that they're even, like, bringing this in at all is you know, it seems like they have the right motivation, but it's like, yeah.
I have so many thoughts. Oh my god.
Okay. Artemis,
I will start out from a place of sympathy for Watanabe and this story, because yes, it was it's Cartoon Network approached him, right? I understand from various interviews and such that they wanted him to make a show, and he said yep, and did that thing. But it still is also being released in Japan. At the same time, roughly, right? Like it's airing.
I would assume so. Yeah,
it's being broadcast.
It has a Japanese voiceover,
right?
So I would assume so.
Not that I'm saying like, oh, Japanese people don't know what a transgender woman is. You know what I mean? Like, but I would say that by and large, there's not necessarily the same kind of exposure to things like racial injustice and like matters of gender and sexual orientation and such, because people just don't talk about it as publicly and transparently as others in the US, for example, might be used to.
So you would think that then, from the perspective of this being aimed at a Japanese audience, that like shooting this straight with its text is actually would be helpful and informative for that audience.
I don't know if it will be helpful and informative, but I think it can't be helped necessarily that if you're aiming for both a Western and a Japanese audience, that you can't necessarily focus just on one of those.
Okay.
And while we are very used to understanding anime from a purely Japanese perspective, because most people aren't making it for an international audience, I don't think it did him any favors here that he had to approach it from a more broad, overarching how to get both.
Right. I think my issue is like, because I think a lot of my issue, to be clear, is in the execution. Like, I don't have an issue with a story getting into the particulars of, like, systemic discrimination and oppression, of course. But I think you feel that because this is a one core show, like Doug and Jill have to just explain their circumstances to you rather than being able to explore those things organically through a visual medium, right? Like if Doug's or if either of these characters' backstories were that important, I think like in an ideal world, you would like not only would you focus more on it, but you would lend it the aid of visual storytelling, right? Maybe an actual visual flashback. You know, I think because it's these characters just explaining it purely through dialogue, I think that's why to me it feels very tacked on, very kind of
I don't like it.
out.
To be clear, I'm not excusing it in terms of storytelling. I hate it. Also, I hate that aspect of it. I'm just trying to get to a kind of understanding of how this may have come about.
I think that is a fair assessment. I think it's just I'm probably a little bit more. Again, this was not actually produced by Netflix. Like the thing I'm referencing is the like report that Netflix producers pressure writers on their shows to be more like blatant and expository in their dialogue, on the assumption that viewers may not be watching the screen.
I've heard that, yeah.
And so like they will literally tell the writer, don't just have a character go to the kitchen, make them explain, I'm going to the kitchen. And that's for Netflix. I don't necessarily want to like say that, oh, Adult Swim is equally guilty of that, but it just feels to me of the same sensibility of tell rather than show, because we can't always guarantee that the viewer is even watching. And I think writing for that audience is just going to like always feel wrong to me as somebody who enjoys engaging with anime as a primarily visual medium.
Right.
Yeah. And I will also say that my second bit of sympathy comes from the fact that Watanabe will never get over that. As far as fans are concerned, will never get over the shadow of Bebop. He will always be the guy who made Bebop. And no matter what he makes, it doesn't matter if he made a fucking like isekai historical, like it doesn't, he could do anything and people would still be like, oh yeah, the guy who did Bebop. Let's see how much of Bebop we can see in this.
Yeah.
And the fact that also I read quite a few interviews that he did with various outlets, and it was made pretty clear that this was kind of a tribute to the screenwriter of Bebop as well, who passed away while this was being made.
Oh, okay.
Because she was working, Keiko Nobumoto was working on it and then passed away during its production. And so it was kind of a tribute to her as well. So he could both not escape the shadow while also purposefully putting in some kind of tribute.
Right.
It's very awkward. It's a very awkward place to be.
Yeah, it's a tough. Yeah. It was kind of it was almost a no-win situation at that point, right? Like,
I mean, thank you for bringing those up, Artemis, because yes, I must admit that makes me a lot more sympathetic to the nature of this production. I think it's just man, like you're deflating my hater energy here. I don't like that. I have one more point.
I have one more point to make.
Okay,
I'm not done.
Okay,
I have one more point.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I don't know how much say, if any, that the creators of the show had over the dub. But holy shit, the voices are terrible.
Yeah, the dub is bad. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't actually watched the dub. I'm watching it in Japanese, so
I'm gonna have to, if I can stir myself to do so, rewatch it in Japanese when the whole thing is released, and I can just watch in Japanese, because I'm not bashing any particular voice actor. Like I don't, I'm not.
No. Usually it's a failure of directing. I'm
not here to throw stones at anyone or a group of people or anything, but like. All of the main cast of this ranges for me from it's okay to oh god why, like in terms of the delivery. I especially hate, and again, not trying to bash anyone, but the hacker, the female hacker, what's her name?
Liza, I think. God, I can't.
I heard the voice is just killing me every time I hear. Captain to the moon? Like,
Elena.
stop.
Yes, it's
awful. It's awful. And the highlight, the absolute highlight for the show for me, and like in a good way, is when the complete side characters who only appear in that one episode for like 2 seconds say a line, because there have been some brilliant, like very brief but extremely brilliant line deliveries. Do you not remember in episode 2 where they're having like the shootout or whatever in the abandoned?
Well, again, I think Gel didn't
factory or whatever it is.
Gel didn't watch past episode 1, and I've been watching this in Japanese.
So a guy bursts in the English dub.
Yeah.
Just a background like mob character bursts in through the window, does a roll, and goes ding dong. And it was so good.
Oh man, that's all right. Yeah,
I want that for the main cast.
Right.
Yeah.
And there have been some truly brilliant, like no-name background characters coming in doing that shit, and I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mentioned last time you cannot get the Japanese VO officially in America. Like if you're watching Max.
My understanding is that it is being officially released, but not for a month after the first episode comes out. And don't quote me, but I believe that because Max is streaming this next day, that Max will also be streaming 1 month later each episode in its Japanese.
Okay.
At
least
it will become available.
Initially.
It's just not now, and the fact that it is not now is really because
you can only watch it with the bad dub.
Yeah, the dub is for me like a good 50% of why the show is so bad.
Man, I already don't like this show in Japanese. I almost might have to watch the dub just to experience this.
Oh my god, it's so lifeless and soulless. It's terrible.
I'll have to look it up because I'm always curious with situations like that. Like, is it just like are these like trained voice actors that were just given poor instruction? Or is it the alternative, which is, oh no, are these like Hollywood actors who have no experience with voice acting?
Right, that's what I was interested in.
I briefly took a look at the dub cast. I don't remember them all. I just took a look and I recognized like at least one name on it.
Yeah, I see a bunch of people here who have no Wikipedia articles. There's Lucy Christian, who is an absolute veteran, of course. But everyone else is just kind of
so probably like just given
people.
poor directions, I think.
It might be. Yeah, I feel like when the whole thing's bad, there might be something about the directing or the recording process, or how they're maybe they're being forced to record without being able to see anything, or who knows.
Right, it could easily be that.
Yeah.
Which would still be weird because it's like how did that happen on a production level for a show that feels like it is explicitly made for the American audience? Like you'd think the dub would be like, because here's having gone back and watched rewatched some Cowboy Bebop, obviously like an iconic dub performance. It has it doesn't all universally hold up, right? Like there are aspects of it that do feel dated, but it is by and large very very solid, especially for its time, and so you'd think that being one of the like primary cultural signifiers of Cowboy Bebop, you would try to like do something similar with Lazarus, right? But
and I can only assume the budget was there. I don't think it's due to budgetary constraints.
Sometimes I'm not sure. I feel like a lot of these like Adult Swim like productions are kind of weird, right? Like Ninja Kamui had some production issues. Plenty has been said about Uzumaki. So I don't actually know like how much Adult Swim is throwing behind these anime productions, actually.
It's we've given a lot of context to why we got here, but it sounds like at the end of the day, it's still not a good product.
It's
right?
still not a good show.
It's a shame. It's a shame. But for the record, I will most likely be watching the whole thing because I am curious.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I will be watching. So yeah, I will. If I'm on the podcast again before the run is up, then you will. We can
definitely reconvene on this one. Because yes, I am also probably stuck with this show for the foreseeable future. I've watched every Watanabe anime. I'm not gonna stop now, right? Like,
It's weird. Like I've done some more looking up, and this appears to be just a regular Sentai production. So I wonder what it's not like. But for example, the dub for the what is it? The Dinner Table Detective that they outsourced to South Africa. Like this seems to be just an
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the voice director just had a bad day.
Yeah,
I know we're going long here. So just the last kind of note I'll leave it on is of the first 3 episodes, like past the dub, past the kind of clunky dialogue, past the like non-existent like chemistry between the cast. Just the fundamental story here is just not that interesting. Like the mystery of hunting down Dr. Skinner just doesn't really work for me. Like I'm not compelled by it. I'm not really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like they're actually solving a mystery in as much as they're just like being shuffled from one scene to the next, and the plot is moving forward regardless of their contribution to it. And I don't know, it just doesn't do much to like sell me on these characters. Like these characters don't feel like they're a unit working together to solve a mystery. It just feels like they have been they just happen to be the people present as the plot moves forward, which is a really strange feeling in a show like this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weird disparate parts. There's like and Watanabe has gone on the record saying in multiple interviews that this was inspired by the real world opioid crisis. And also that he really, really liked he really wanted to do his own take someday on James Bond or Mission Impossible, like a spy thriller type thing, but never had the opportunity. So this is his, like, no one called him, so this is his version of that.
Maybe
those are 2 pretty weird things to mix there.
I don't think James Bond versus the opioid crisis is quite
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't necessarily think that all these sources of inspiration melded.
Yeah,
very well.
I don't know, man. He just seems to have his heart in the right place. Like I can't really be mad at him.
To be clear, like Watanabe is like the sort of Watanabe is your annoying woke uncle. Like for
it's
whom,
me.
like you agree and like are glad he had like you're glad that an old man has these politics because so many men his age would be so much like more cruel and conservative, and it's like no I'm glad uncle I'm really glad you support gay marriage. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you've been reading on the opioid crisis. That's great. Look, I'm really trying to like. Oh look, my cousin's over there. Hey, what's up, man? Like, let's. Hey, I'll talk to you later, man. All right, yeah, no, this was good. Yeah, no, keep fighting the power. Awesome. Yeah,
and then Uncle will be like, no, cousin, no, nephew. As a cis white man, it is my responsibility to check my privilege.
All right,
that's the energy. Like that's.
I'm feeling called out here, so maybe we should. But go ahead,
the music's okay though. The music's all right.
I don't even like the music that much. I think
the music is good. I don't think the music is amazing, but I think it's good.
I am the only fully cis white man on this podcast right now, so
I'm as I say, weight passing enough.
Yeah,
close enough.
Well, it's just it's. I think we can all be deeply sympathetic to Watanabe while also recognizing that Lazarus is just like a fundamentally pretty poor piece of media.
It just makes it sad that this is the result that we got, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that
depressing note,
yes, that fun note, I think that'll do it. Thank you, everybody, for sticking it out with us, and we'll do our.
Is this our longest podcast ever?
No, it's not. But it's, when we cut out the bits we got to cut out for break and stuff later, well, behind the scenes there for everybody. But yes, it'll probably be shorter. But anyway, let's do our housekeeping. Check us out at theglorioblog.com, where you can read all of our first looks for all the other shows and things that we watched. There's a few things that we didn't talk about on there, and also, as noted, Zig's going to be writing about the new Gundam per episode, so you can go check that out for some additional thoughts on that. You can follow us on Blue Sky at GLORIO blog, which I'm happy now we automatically post there and I don't have to remember or forget as I usually do. Go check that out. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, of course, YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Tell us what you're watching this season. Is there anything we missed? Is there anything you disagree with? All that. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.